When you have one black professional on campus, they're automatically over diversity and inclusion. I mean, come on. That's what happens. But now the one person that could be the mentor to these students of color on this campus is now being pulled to a job that they honestly probably did not even really want. They were dragged into it because they were the only person of color on the campus. So that meant to administration that they were the only person qualified. Welcome back to my channel, Feeling About IoT with TK. And it's great to be back with you guys here for another video. I know it has been a minute since you guys seen me in this format, but I wanted to hop back on and start doing videos like this and hop back into my rhythm. It's my spring break in my master's program and I have some time. So I thought this would be a great time as ever to get back into the rhythm of things. And I wanted to start off with something a little different than some of the previous content that I have. Which if you haven't seen my previous videos about bone content, bone diseases, and all things bone related, as well as some things related to central dogma, make sure you check out my videos. They'll be up in the cards above us. And there'll also be some links down in the bio, so make sure you check those out. So, for this video, we're going to be doing a rundown of some of the things I wish I would have known before I went to medical school, specifically as a black female student. Just to give you a rundown of the demographic of my school, I believe my class was 162 and there were 4 black students in the whole class. I was one of 3 black females and there was 1 black male in my class. I'm not quite sure how many Hispanics were in my class, but I can only remember 2 to my knowledge. And the only other people of color that I can really remember in my class were Indians and Asians. But there weren't many other underrepresented minorities when it comes to the medical field. Seen there, I'm not sure if there were any Native Americans in my class. But yeah, that's the demographics that I can remember. So I wanted to make this video to just talk a little bit about that experience, just do a rundown of what some of those things look like. And if you guys are interested, if the video runs a little bit long, we might do a part 2. So yeah, make sure you go ahead and like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that post notification bell so you don't miss when I'm uploading. I'm doing a ton of shorts and things like that, so make sure you're jumping in on that content as well. And yeah, if you've experienced some things like relate to this topic, or are a black student in medicine, or an incoming medical student, or even a pre-med, black pre-med, feel free to chime down your comments, things down in the comments below that are related to the topic, things that you've experienced, or if you're a resident physician or attending physician and can chime in on the conversation and talk about some things that you've experienced, please feel free to have that conversation down in the comments. So one of the things I could definitely say that wasn't super unexpected, but I think I did it more in medical school than I did it in undergrad, was definitely trying to explain the black experience. I feel like in medical school it was almost like the expectation was there as one of the few black students in the room to be able to explain to those that had never experienced maybe microaggressions or racism in a patient interaction, explain to them what it felt like, or trying to explain to them the different plights and things that the black community might have to deal with when they come in and see you as a physician that is not of the same culture or same race. It's just like, okay, at what point do we get past having to explain to you that being black does not equate poverty? That doesn't help the stereotypes when we associate every single time there is a question stem about a homeless person, the homeless person is a black male. But it's just that there has to be variability in the way the questions are put together and the stems are put together. It can't be that every single time you have somebody that might be presenting with symptoms of a drug addict, that person has to be black or Hispanic, because that's not fair to those cultures or those populations. It's not, because not every black person or Hispanic person that is on the street is a drug addict. It's small things like that that create a bias in the heads of the students that are seeing these questions that puts puts them in a position where they are now imposing that implicit bias on their patients when they come into the hospital or when they go into the clinic. So it's important to be aware of how the questions are being formatted and how the questions are being put together. And sometimes I don't think that even the professors that are putting the questions together realize that, because that is how they were trained. And those, what we call buzzwords were put into the questions to help them be able to answer those questions. But let's remember, race should never be a buzzword, okay? Because race is a social construct. It's not something that we base diagnoses off of and that we base our treatment off of. If we're talking about the genes related to the fact that that I have African American descent versus you have European descent, then we can have a conversation. But okay, next topic. So my next one kind of goes with the last one, the idea that you have to kind of teach your classmates and even professors sometimes about the cultural differences that you might be experiencing. It's also that when you try and teach those things that are super important to them treating and being a practicing physician, oftentimes they don't even care. You don't understand. There is an experience that is ingrained into my head that my classmates probably don't even understand or realize is ingrained in my head. But to this day, I will never forget the response that some of my classmates had in a group chat to a conversation about talking about poverty, and specifically poverty in the African American community. It was something that is super important to me and my other classmates of color, because it's something that affects us and our family members and our friends every single day. And there was a student and a couple of people after them that felt the need to go in a group chat and talk about how boring the conversation was, and several students laughed at them about it. It was at that moment I knew I was at the wrong place. Y'all don't even understand. That's when my mind started to turn and things start to trigger, and I started to be like, hold up. Baby, after the second time of me doing this, something is not right. Like this second time, like this is not sitting right with me. So I do urge you, if you're a black student and you feel like your classmates are pushing off the black issues to the side because they do feel like those stereotypes are the truth deep down inside, baby, please be implored by this message to keep pushing them. Okay? Baby, please don't stop talking about our issues just because your classmates don't care. I just want to encourage you today, because my classmates didn't care either, but they didn't stop hearing my mouth. Because at the end of the day, if we don't fight for us, nobody's going to fight for us. And when it comes to this particular profession, you have to remember that these are people that are going to be treating your future family members or future black brothers and sisters. So don't just think that it's not important for you to be that ally and be that person in the room that is bringing light to the black situations and the black concerns when nobody else is. I know it gets tiring sometimes, and I know we get tired of explaining to people why it's important to make sure that we differentiate the struggles that black people are having. But at the end of the day, it's important. It is. Because our struggles are different. We are seeing it in the research that is happening every single day. The way we respond to medications is different. The way our genes are set up is different. The way that we respond to some of these tools that they are using to detect oxygen levels and things, we are different. So it is important to continue to differentiate those things. So don't stop making those comments in class. Don't stop letting them know what makes us different. I just want to throw out that PSA in the middle of this little video to just encourage y'all to keep standing up in class and keep getting them annoyed because you keep bringing up race. Because baby, race is a health issue. Y'all making it a social thing. It's a health issue because y'all treating us different. It's a health issue. So we're going to talk about it in medical school because it's a health issue, sis. It is. But, so this one definitely isn't so much about in the classroom. It's more about interacting with classmates for sure. But I struggled with this a little. It wasn't terrible because my study group was mainly females. But when it came to different workshops and groups that we were in class, in school, when it came to different groups they were putting us in, or even conversations with professors, it was a weird dynamic of feeling like a lot of people question why you got the answer right or why you knew the content. It's like, did you expect me not to study? Like, why are you questioning why I got the answer right when you taught it in class? That was the one thing that I tell you I hated, was the microaggressions, or like these small little comments when you would get something right as a black student, especially when you're not around other black students. Like, first time I've ever been in a position where people looked at me as if they were confused when I knew what was going on. I'm just like, that's insulting. Y'all don't even understand how insulting that is. I digress. It was one of those things I just kind of got used to, that when we were in a group scenario, that what I said was going to be ignored. What point I might have pointed out, somebody else was going to repeat it, and the professor was going to point out that they were the original sayer of the statement. It's just, one of those things. But it's okay, because at the end of the day, it taught me that not everybody's going to, be there patting you on the back when you do something great. Sometimes you have to pat your own self on the back. Sometimes you have to be your own encouragement. And, and sometimes you have to understand and realize that every battle ain't your battle to fight. And figure out what battles are worth it and what battles are just like, okay, this is just stressing me out more than anything. And I think that's one of the things that medical school truly taught me, is that not every battle was worth me fighting, but the big ones I definitely jumped on. So, some of them, sometimes I said something, sometimes I didn't. But, it just, you know how it is. But it was something that definitely bothered me, and not a hierarchy where I feel the need to, for lack of a better word, kiss your butt, because so that you can start listening to my opinions in study groups and in workshops and other environments. That's just not who I am, and it's not what I'm going to do. And some of the other black students found it easier, to do that, and it wasn't me. So I found myself alone, and that ends up being probably one of the biggest hindrances when you're in medical school, is putting yourself in a place where you're isolated. But sometimes the isolation isn't always intentional. And in that case, it wasn't intentional. It was just that I didn't feel like I had anybody there that really understood me. And by the time I got to medical school and I saw that I was in a place where somebody did understand me, my mind was already halfway out the door. Like, I eventually, second time around, came across some classmates that, if I felt like they would have been there when I first got into medical school, it would have been a much different story. But those ladies were able to show me something different and allow me to open my mind to something different. And they came into my life at the right time. They were there for a season, and they were there for that moment to teach me the importance of getting more women that were passionate about medicine to that space, especially black women. And they showed me what big of a difference black women in this space could make. And it was truly beautiful to see, and it is so much different when you don't have to explain something is already understood. So I definitely feel for my black students that sit in a space where your classmates don't always get it, and they don't always understand the little comments that they make and the little things that they say are things we have heard for years and aren't compliments. So my last one and biggest one is probably one that applies to not just medical school, but college, could be high school, or really any school in general, where there aren't a lot of black people in administration, or a lot of black professors, or people in academia or academics and those types of things. It's just the struggle of the black professor being the advisor or the mentor to all of the black students on campus. And that's one of the major reasons why I have a passion for medical education, because I know that there aren't a lot of people that look like me in medical education. And it becomes a hindrance for black students when they're trying to pursue medicine, that they don't have somebody that they can talk to that looks like them and understands their experience. Because I was there. That's exactly what I struggled from and struggled with. I didn't feel like I could always go to a mentor that understood what I was going through, but also understood me as a person and could see past the medical student, but understand the black woman that stood before them. There was only one person or two people on campus that could do that, and they were always busy. Because when you have one black professional on campus, they're automatically over diversity and inclusion. I mean, come on. That's what happens. But now the one person that could be the mentor to these students of color on this campus is now being pulled to a job that they honestly probably did not even really want. They were dragged into it because they were the only person of color on the campus. So that meant to administration that they were the only person qualified. So, that is one of the things I definitely could say I struggle from is, just not feeling like I had great support, because I hate feeling like I'm a burden. I don't want to feel like I'm a burden to anybody. So when I feel as if you are already busy, you are already bogged down, I'm not going to want to bother you anymore. So yeah, overall, I would just say that what I learned of being a black student in medical school, especially going to a predominantly white institution, was just that it's hard, So reach out to your friends, especially your minority students that are in those types of environments or in those particular schools, because it is easy to feel like nobody understands where you're coming from and that you are alone and that nobody else gets it. So don't feel like you're by yourself, because you aren't the only one that feels like that. I promise. In reflection, in hindsight, I now see that I am not the only black student that has ever felt like that. It was just in the moment, I felt like I was the only one there. So I didn't know what to do. But I highly encourage you that if you're there, if you're sitting in a space where you feel like you're by yourself, you feel like you don't have any support, you feel like you are all by yourself, I highly encourage you that if you do have that one mentor on campus, go talk to them. If you got one person that you can go talk to, get the thoughts out of your head. But like I said, if you guys are interested in hearing some more of the rundown of some of the things I wish I knew as a black student going into medical school, please let me know, because there are a few more things on my list that I could write down and make you guys aware of, but I don't want to make this video too long. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off now. But I want to remind y'all again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you made it to this point in the video, I definitely want to thank y'all for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed the content. More new things to come, a lot of variety and stuff like that. It's a whole new vibe coming to Spill the Bottle Tea. So I hope you guys are excited for what the energy is. Because baby, it's about to get spicy up in here. But until next time, hope y'all have a good one. And I'll see y'all later.